Every morning for 7 days, I ate something most people wouldn't touch first thing after waking up. Raw garlic mixed with honey, no water, no food before it. Just that, on an empty stomach, right as the day started. And look, I'll be honest with you. On day one, I genuinely thought I'd made a mistake. The smell alone hit different in the morning silence. But by the end of this experiment, something happened that I did not expect at all. Not just one thing, a whole pattern of changes, some subtle, some impossible to ignore. And there was one specific shift on day 7 that made me rethink everything I thought I knew about what natural immunity actually means in practice. So if you've ever wondered whether simple, cheap, kitchen shelf foods can actually do something real for your body, or if it's all just wellness hype, stay with me, because this is going to surprise you. Before I get into the day-by-day breakdown, I want to explain why I even chose this combination, because it's not random. And understanding the why makes what happened actually make sense. Garlic has been used medicinally for over 5,000 years. Ancient Egyptians gave it to pyramid builders for endurance. Hippocrates prescribed it for respiratory infections. And while that might sound like ancient folklore, modern science has caught up. The key compound is something called allicin. And here's what's interesting about it. Allicin doesn't actually exist in a garlic clove until you crush or chop it. That mechanical damage triggers a chemical reaction between an enzyme called alliinase and a compound called allicin, and that reaction produces allicin, which is why raw garlic is so potent. Cooking destroys alliinase, so if you're only ever eating cooked garlic, you're getting a fraction of the bioactive compound. Allicin has been shown in studies to have antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and anti-inflammatory properties. It interacts with the immune system by stimulating the activity of natural killer cells, the immune cells that target infected or damaged cells. It also influences white blood cell production and has been observed in studies to reduce the severity and duration of the common cold. Now honey. Raw honey, not the processed supermarket kind, is rich in hydrogen peroxide, methyl glyoxal, and a compound called defensin-1, which is actually a protein from bee immune systems. It has documented antimicrobial effects, soothes mucous membranes, and acts as a prebiotic, meaning it feeds beneficial gut bacteria. And because about 70% of your immune system lives in your gut, that matters more than most people realize. Combined, you get Allicin's systemic punch delivered with honey's soothing buffer, which is also why the combination is easier on the stomach than raw garlic alone. That was the logic going in. Whether it would translate into something I could feel, that was the real question. Day 1. I set my alarm 15 minutes earlier than usual so I could do this before my body had a chance to talk me out of it. I crushed 1 medium clove of garlic, not sliced, crushed, because that's what triggers the allicin. Let it sit for about 10 minutes to allow the enzyme reaction to complete, then mixed it into roughly a teaspoon of raw honey. The smell alone is aggressive at that hour, not strong garlic bread, aggressive, more like someone is disinfecting something, aggressive. And the taste, sharp, burning, almost shocking. There was a moment where I thought, there is no way people do this voluntarily, this has to be some kind of collective wellness delusion. But I pushed through, swallowed it, drank some warm water after. Within about 30 minutes, a warming sensation, not painful, not uncomfortable, just active. Like something had switched on in my chest and stomach, a low-grade heat that moved through my upper body. Now, could that have been placebo? Absolutely. But I noted it, kept going. Day 2, something subtle but real. My morning felt cleaner, not the artificial spike you get from caffeine, no peak, no edge, no crash waiting on the other side, just a steady, quiet alertness that was already there when I opened my eyes. The usual morning fog, that 20-minute window where I'm half present and half still asleep, it was shorter, noticeably. I was functional faster. I didn't want to make too much of it this early, but I wrote it down. By day 3, the alertness pattern was consistent enough that I couldn't dismiss it as coincidence. Every morning felt like I'd slept slightly better than I had, even on nights where the sleep itself wasn't great. And that's interesting because garlic has been linked in some research to improvements in blood pressure regulation and circulation, which could theoretically affect sleep quality over time. I wasn't expecting that, but there it was. Day 4 is where things got genuinely interesting. You know that afternoon dip? That 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. window where your energy just falls off a cliff and you start mentally negotiating with yourself about whether you need coffee or a nap or both? It didn't hit. Not with the same force it usually does. The day felt more even, not energized in a wired way, just level. And I started to think about what that might mean physiologically. Blood sugar stability, reduced inflammation, better cortisol regulation, probably some combination, and all of those are connected to garlic's bioactive compounds in the research literature. But here's the thing that really got my attention on day 4, and I almost didn't include this because it sounds like exactly the kind of anecdote that gets dismissed. I had been around people who were clearly fighting something off. You know the signs: that tight voice, the slightly glazed eyes, the cough they're trying to suppress. Normally, and I mean historically, this is a pattern in my life, I pick that up within 24 to 48 hours. I'm the person at the office who catches whatever is going around first. This time, nothing. No scratchy throat, no pressure behind the eyes, no that feeling where you just know something's coming. Nothing. And that's when I stopped being skeptical and started paying close attention. Something shifted around day 5 that I didn't anticipate, and it had nothing to do with the garlic itself. The routine started to feel good. Not good like it tasted good. It still didn't taste great. But good like how a cold shower feels in the moment you actually do it, or how a hard workout feels when you're finishing the last rep. There was a sense of doing something deliberate for your body, active maintenance instead of reactive damage control. And that psychological shift is actually significant. Research on habit formation consistently shows that the meaning we attach to a behavior affects our compliance with it and our body's response to it. When you approach something as a ritual rather than a chore, you're engaging a different relationship with it. I started noticing I looked forward to it, which, if you'd asked me on day 1, I would have told you was impossible. Physically, day 5 and 6 brought something else: faster recovery on small things. I had a minor headache mid-afternoon on day 5. Normally, those linger for me into the evening. It was gone within an hour. Minor muscle fatigue from a workout on day 6, resolved by the next morning rather than carrying into the afternoon. Small things, but patterns. Now, I want to be careful here. I'm not telling you garlic and honey cured anything. What I'm observing is a pattern, and patterns in self-experimentation are worth noting, not declaring. But they're also worth continuing to investigate. Day 7. And here's where the takeaway got genuinely unexpected. I woke up feeling stable. Not good in a peak, euphoric, everything is great kind of way, but stable in a way that held. All day, no dip, no drag, no that feeling at 4 p.m. where you're just waiting to be done, and I hadn't gotten sick, despite a full week of exposure to people who were actively sick around me. But the thing that stood out most wasn't any single symptom or change, it was the consistency. 7 mornings in a row, same input, same window, same result, a body that felt more like it was working with me rather than against me. And that, I think, is the real story here. Immunity isn't just about never getting sick, though that matters. It's about how your body responds when it encounters something, how quickly it mobilizes, how fast it recovers. And on both of those measures, this week felt different. I want to give you an honest read on the science here, because the wellness space has a tendency to overclaim, and I'd rather be straight with you. The research on garlic and immunity is real and it's growing. A 2016 randomized controlled trial published in the journal Advances in Therapy found that participants taking aged garlic extract had significantly fewer colds and shorter illness durations than the placebo group. Studies on Allicin specifically have demonstrated measurable antimicrobial activity against bacteria, including H. pylori, E. coli, and Staphylococcus aureus. Honey has been shown in clinical settings to be as effective as some over-the-counter cough suppressants for upper respiratory symptoms. What the science doesn't say, and this matters, is that garlic and honey replace any form of medical care, that they work identically for everyone, or that 1 week is enough to draw firm conclusions. What I experienced was one experiment, one body, 7 days. It's data worth taking seriously, but it's not a prescription. A few practical notes if you're thinking about trying this. 1 clove per day is enough. More isn't necessarily better and can irritate your gut lining. Crush the clove and let it sit for 10 minutes before consuming. That's critical for allicin formation. Use raw honey, not processed. And if you're on blood thinners or have a garlic sensitivity, check with your doctor first. Allicin does have mild blood thinning properties. Maybe the biggest lesson from this week wasn't even about garlic or honey. It was about what happens when you make a small, consistent, intentional choice every single day for 7 days straight. Your body notices. Not always in dramatic ways. sometimes just in the absence of the things that used to wear you down. You don't always need something complicated or expensive to support your health. Sometimes it's the simplest inputs, repeated daily, that quietly shift things in your direction. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is just start, even if it feels uncomfortable on day one. So here's my challenge to you. Try it for 7 days. 1 crushed clove, 1 teaspoon of raw honey, every morning on an empty stomach, and pay attention, not to what you expect to feel, but to what's actually different. Then come back and tell me what happened. I genuinely want to know. If this kind of experiment-based health content is something you want more of, subscribe, because that's exactly what we do here. And if you want to see what happened when I tried a similar protocol with apple cider vinegar, stay tuned.